The words hadn't even finished echoing in the room when I felt it. That quiet rupture inside my chest, clean and final, like a wire snapping under too much tension. "Don't be dramatic," my father said, waving his hand as if he were brushing dust off a table. "You should be grateful." Family helps family. My sister laughed, not nervous, not apologetic, amused. I stood there with me coat still on. Paris rain dried stiff into the fabric. Jet lag buzzing behind me eyes. My penthouse gone. Sold while I was 12 time zones away, closing a deal that would triple our firm's valuation. I remember thinking how symmetrical betrayal feels. How it always waits until you're at your highest point. Tasho view. I smiled, not because I forgave them, because I finally understood them. And understanding is dangerous. They raised me to be useful, not cherished. I was the reliable one, the fixer, the quiet achiever who never asked for applause, just space. My sister asked for everything: attention, money, indulgence, and received it with a bow on top. I paid for my own education, built my own career, bought that penthouse myself, top floor, glass walls, deed in my name. Or so I thought, when my mother said, "We're so proud of you." It always came with an unspoken clause. As long as you don't need us. Gratitude in my family was a leash, and I wore it willingly for years until Paris, until I came home and found strangers' furniture staged in my living room like a crime scene, politely asking not to be disturbed. The exact moment my loyalty died wasn't when I saw the sold sign. It was when my sister said, "You weren't even living there." It was just sitting empty. As if absence were consent. As if success were abandonment. As if it hadn't earned every inch of that space. My father explained it like a spreadsheet. Wedding costs, deposits, vendors, a temporary solution. He said me name the way one does when calming a skittish animal. Legally, it was straightforward, he added. That's when the room tilted because legality has teeth, and they had just admitted they'd bitten first. I didn't yell. I didn't TCOY. I didn't argue. I went quiet. Silence is misunderstood. People think it means weakness, retreat, confusion. In truth, it's the sound of gears aligning. I asked a single question. Calm, precise. Who handled the sale? My father answered without suspicion. He always underestimated me. That was his final mistake. That night I didn't sleep. I replayed details, dates, signatures, emails. I poured a glass of water and didn't drink it, just watched the surface settle. By morning, I had a plan. Not revenge, justice. The kind that doesn't raise its voice. The penthouse wasn't just a home. It was collateral. 3 years earlier, it transferred it into a holding structure for tax efficiency, one my father never bothered to understand. The deed was mine, yes, but the controlling interest belonged to a corporate shell I owned entirely. Any sale required unanimous consent from all stakeholders, which they didn't have. The buyer, good faith, wealthy, protected. The liability singular. I hired lawyers who spoke softly and billed aggressively. I let them work while my family toasted champagne and argued about flower arrangements. Step by step, freeze accounts tied to the transaction. Notify the buyer's counsel. File for reversal and damages. Trigger the indemnity clause. Everything clean. Everything legal. The wedding venue called first, then the caterer, then the dress designer. I imagine my sister's phone lighting up like a distress flare. One luxury collapsing after another. I didn't answer my calls. The confrontation came 3 days later in me mother's living room. Same couch, same smugness until I spoke. They were angry by then, confused, afraid. My father leaned forward. "What did you do?" I smiled again. Same calm curve of the mouth. Controlled, surgical. "The penthouse you sold," I said gently, "was actually an asset owned by my company." The color drained from his face, not metaphorically, literally. He looked ill. "You committed fraud, forgery, misrepresentation, and because you used the proceeds for non-protected expenditures." I let the silence finish the sentence. My sister started crying. Real tears this time, not cinematic, ugly, desperate. "Fix this," she said. "Please." I shook my head once. Minimal movement. Maximum meaning. I already did. The wedding didn't happen. The buyer kept the penthouse. I kept my equity. The lawsuit settled quietly, expensively. My father signed documents with hands that trembled. Noon went to jail. I wasn't cruel, but they lost something far more valuable than money. Control. I moved out of the family orbit, changed my number, changed me routines, not out of anger, but clarity. Freedom doesn't always roar. Sometimes it closes a door and locks it from the inside. I think about that moment often, the mocking laughter, the entitlement, the assumption that I would bend. They mistook my patience for permission. They were wrong. And that's the thing about betrayal. It teaches you exactly who someone is. What you do with that knowledge determines who you become. I became someone who doesn't explain boundaries. I enforce them silently, legally. Finally,